Turning now to your politics, so much going on. Topping headlines, Speaker McCarthy and the House GOP pass a debt ceiling bill. But even as the deadline looms, Democrats say it is dead on arrival in the Senate. Here to talk about all this and more is Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Caroline, good morning.
Good morning, Giselle. Happy almost Friday.
Oh, yes, we're feeling it, right? But never a dull moment in Washington. So Speaker McCarthy, big win, miraculously able to pass the debt ceiling bill and hold on to his power. But is this a case of winning the battle and not the war?
This is the first step. Obviously, it's not going to pass in the Senate. It's not going to get to Biden's desk. But McCarthy has coupled paying our past bills with what we do moving forward with the budget. Biden is pushing back against that. But the stakes of this are so high that anyone who's watching this should actually be relieved that he was able to get this through, because he needs this to move on to now negotiate with Biden.
But right now, Biden is refusing to negotiate. Is he backed into a corner?
Yeah, that's a great question. It doesn't matter whether he is taking a hard stance or refusing to negotiate. He will absolutely have to negotiate given the stakes of this and given the fact that McCarthy is capitulating to his MAGA branch of the party, right, who wants to put our past debts, paying our past debts together with budgets moving forward. So Biden, even though he says he won't negotiate, really has no choice given the stakes. And the stakes are, of course, the potential of a global recession if we default on our debt.
But the spending cuts that the GOP is asking for absolutely undercuts his agenda. So how does he come to the table?
Well, he's definitely not going to agree to that. And of course, the Senate is still controlled by Democrats, so they don't have to agree to that. The question is how close they'll get to the brink, what they will actually give up to Republicans. And Republicans are going to push this as far as they possibly can. At the end of the day, though, both parties have to be very concerned about who gets blamed if this goes south.
And who do you think does get blamed?
I think at this point in time, it looks like it would go on the Republicans, because Biden is saying, look, these are two unrelated events. Paying our past debt, which y'all agreed to. In fact, a lot of folks now on the Republican side who are pushing back against that have already voted for the past debts. And he's saying, look, don't couple it with moving forward with what we're going to be spending moving forward. So I think rhetorically, Biden probably has the advantage here.
But again, this was a win for McCarthy, no?
It is absolutely a win for McCarthy and his party.
All right, President Biden announcing his run for president, making it official. But the majority of his party, according to polls, Caroline, say they want someone new. Do you see anybody else taking him on, like Governor Newsom?
I see so many good candidates out there, Newsom, Buttigieg, basically anyone who ran in the 2020 election on the Democratic side, but I don't see it happening. It's really difficult to unseat an incumbent. And even though there isn't overwhelming popularity for Biden, remember there wasn't back in 2020 either. It was mostly a vote against Donald Trump. And if the election were to be held today, we would see a Biden-Trump matchup. 63% of Republicans want Trump to be president again, even if he's convicted of a crime. So I think we'll probably see 2020 redo.
All right, deja vu. So Tucker Carlson, big news, as you know, ousted from Fox News. Fox ratings, stock values plummet. More defamation lawsuits coming. Is the GOP losing its echo chamber? Newsmax can fill that void, perhaps, but how significant is this moment for conservative media?
Well, I think it's a big reflection of what's happening in the Republican Party, that you have MAGA Republicans for whom Fox is not conservative enough. We saw a similar dip with the 2020 election when Fox used polling and science to call Arizona. They called it early on. They accurately called the race for Biden, and viewership dropped. And now you see it drop as they're letting go of their most openly xenophobic, racist hosts. We've never seen, by the way, a host espouse so much anti-immigrant and other forms of racist sentiment on the air. And, you know, folks are going to Newsmax because Fox simply isn't extreme enough for the MAGA branch of the party.
Right. All right, turning to now dramatic testimony in the E. Jean Carroll trial, laid out graphically in detail the day she claims Donald Trump raped her. It was riveting. She's finally able to have her day in court, as you know, and court watchers say this is a stronger case than first perceived. Is it?
It is. There are a number of factors here. One is this case was made available or possible because of a look back law that was passed in 2022, which relaxed the statute of limitations. So she is joining a lot of other survivors, Cosby survivors, for example, who are filing suits in older cases. She told two women immediately after the incident, which supports her case. Also, Trump's defense in this so far is to say it never happened, and it didn't happen because she's not his type. But in a deposition, when he was shown a photo of E. Jean Carroll from the 1990s, he actually said, "That's my wife," confusing her with Marla Maples. So I think this case might be stronger than Trump supporters initially thought.
She faces cross-examination today. We'll be all over that. So the former president faces many other legal battlefields, as you know, but just lost another. His appeal to block former Vice President Mike Pence from testifying before the grand jury in the January 6th investigation. How significant?
Well, I think this is highly significant because if you recall, the January 6th, the violent insurrection and everything that led up to that day was all to put pressure on Pence to overturn the results of the election. And so Pence is going to be speaking to all of the pressure points that Donald Trump put on him leading up to that. There's no one else who can actually testify about that. So this is really important evidence in this trial, or in this investigation, I should say, against Donald Trump.
And before I let you go, Caroline, I have to ask you about this latest round in the duel between Disney and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Disney now suing the governor, claiming he's retaliating against them, revenge politics, for voicing their right to protest the anti-gay bill. Can DeSantis win and outsmart the mouse?
Well, that's the question. I'm actually surprised it took Disney this long to file. I will say that Disney does have a case. They are arguing that there was a coordinated government effort to suppress their freedom of speech. And most people misinterpret what, the Constitution says about that, but it's very specific about the government not being able to interfere in freedom of speech. Disney is saying, look, it was protected speech to speak out against the Don't Say Gay bill, and you have coordinated a campaign against us. Let's see where this lands, but Disney definitely has a case here.
We'll be watching that closely as well. Caroline Heldman, as always, every Thursday, thank you so much for lending us your vital voice and wisdom on all these issues in the political landscape. Like a game of whack-a-mole, I keep saying. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you, Giselle.